This conference will now be recorded.
Atkins. Crawford. Here. Deppert. Mark Goddard. Here. Samuel Goddard. Here. Graff. Hagman. Hall. Here. Harris. Here. Josting. Here. Crable. Longfellow. Here. Middle. Here. Mingus. Here. Nelms. Here. Patchett. Here. Trail. Here. Rich Simpson. Here. Schneider. Here. Sen. Here. Smith. Here. Chairman Zimmerman.
We have a quorum. We'll do business. If we could rise for the invocation and pledge, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for being such a gracious God to us, blessing us far beyond what we deserve. The privilege of being here in Tazewell County. Thank you for citizens who care. I pray that the decisions we make will honor them. Thank you for our employees and just the wonderful job that they do for us. And I lift up this board tonight as we make these decisions. I pray that you give us wisdom and discernment. And even in those areas where we disagree, that we can leave here civilly as our goal. Thank you for the harvest that we see happening now. Thank you for the recent rains. It's just another symbol of your faithfulness to us. We know that you're a wise God and a sovereign God. And we pray all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who's come out this evening. I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments before we start the opportunity to speak. From a board perspective, our authority over a pipeline is very, very limited, if at all. So I want you to know that that's kind of our perspective here. The intention last month of bringing in the Citizens for Predatory and for this month to bring in Wolf Carbon is for board members to learn. And I don't want this to sound, I don't know how to say this. This is not a public hearing, and that's why I didn't advocate for a change of venue. This is our county board meeting where we do county business. So it's an opportunity for us to learn. I thank everyone who came and the opportunity to speak, but I just wanted to make those comments before we start. So communications from public and county officials. The first is Dr. Matt Gordon. Dr. Gordon, thank you for coming, and if you could just introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Matt Gordon, President and proud Superintendent at Rankin School District 98, home of the Rebels. First, I want to thank the Tazewell County Board for their service and for allowing me to speak tonight. Second, I will share a little bit about our small but mighty school. Rankin is a fairly rural, one-school district, home to approximately 220 students and 50 staff members. We are proud of our rich tradition stemming back to 1875 and to 1955, which marked the first year of our current home, which has now experienced 4 different building additions, with the latest one completed in 2018. Our mission that drives our district is empowering all students to reach their maximum potential and become productive, respectful, responsible, and well-rounded citizens. We are a school with small class sizes that allow us to stay focused on our individual students, build healthy relationships with all, create a family atmosphere, and ultimately cultivate the growth and development of all of our students as both learners and as people. In addition to our positive culture, we are proud of our rigorous curriculum and our ability to offer a wide range of academic programs that include the core subjects, art, physical education, music, and STEM. Also, we are thankful that we have the opportunity to provide a wide range of co-curricular and extracurricular activities, such as service clubs and sports programs that enhance the educational experiences of our students. So now that I've shared a little bit about Rankin, I want to share with everyone why our district is opposed to the carbon dioxide pipeline. At Rankin, the safety of our students and staff is our top priority. In conjunction with this priority, our Board of Education reviewed the matter regarding this proposed carbon dioxide pipeline and determined that it is a safety threat to our students. Our board, with full consensus, has issued a press release voicing opposition, passed a formal resolution and motion to file a petition to intervene in this matter, which will soon be filed with the Illinois Commerce Commission. Our understanding is that the creation of this pipeline via eminent domain will pass through Rankin's property or be located within a third of a mile south of our campus. Location proposed south of us is literally a stone's throw away from where our kids play at recess. This pipeline being located on or near Rankin is not in the best interest of our district. We urge our local and state leaders and the Illinois Commerce Commission to stop this pipeline, which has the potential to be catastrophic to our students and staff. Ultimately, and in summary, our district is urging our local and state leaders, along with the Illinois Commerce Commission, to join us in keeping the safety of our students and staff at Rankin as the top priority by stopping this carbon dioxide pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Elton Rokie. Elton, if you could just introduce yourself. I know who you are.
I'm very active on our Facebook. And I have 2,000 plus members. In addition, we have petitions here for 546 people opposed. So that's close to 3,000 people who got opposed to this pipeline. Now I'm going to talk to you about just a little bit about, let's take a look at the basics of this pipeline. First of all, what's the hurry to get this thing in? Based on the aggressive timeline that Wolf has, you know what the hurry is. They're just trying to meet federal requirements. Benefits, big profit for investors, polluters, and pipeline companies. This is an experiment right now. This is brand new technology with this length of pipeline and this high pressure. They can quote all this pipeline safety they got, but it really doesn't pertain to this. So they're just experimenting. Lives of people, community, and their along with that, they're taking a lot of carrots. They're talking about money, equipment, training, etc. And no details. Very few details on what they have. They used to hand out a lot of this stuff, and they did a lot of bullet points, no detail. You know, if they're going to be good neighbors, be good friends, you put some detail into it. All the taxpayer money would be better spent on different types of technology to stop the CO2 carbon. They're not stopping it, they're just hiding it. They're putting
90%.
and not profit from big corporations and pipeline companies. Be known as the pollution carbon. Represent state of Illinois, we're going to meet. I've seen pictures. What's that? I've seen pictures of fields that 55 years ago where pipelines went through, aerial views, and you can still see the damage. But it would have been nice if some people had come out. Just to give you an idea, I've talked to people all up and down the pipeline there, farmers, landowners, people that have their house that they live in that they're retiring, so on Social Security that don't have a lot of money. They can't pack it. And there's no way this is going to be good for the price of property. Illinois Board of Realtors have commented on that already. There's no way it's going to improve the price of your property. Just to give you an idea, we've got a young mother out there. She sent me a letter, and she's distraught. And I'm going to read some of what she wrote. She said, "Hello, I thought I would message you privately. It felt more responsible to share this info. Her son, 7 years old, severely handicapped from birth, both physically and mentally, due to an accident at birth. She says, he suffered a devastating brain injury at birth and spent the first few weeks of his life on life support in the NICU. He has a list of mental and physical disabilities as a result. His father and I have worked so incredibly hard for 7 years to know that our sweet boy will always have a safe place to call home. We searched and searched for years in hopes we would find a home near his school and his therapist, with in-law suites to accommodate a live-in nurse once I'm told too old to care for him. Those homes are hard to come by. We finally found our home. We finally found Logan's home. I'm not going to tell you the address. 1/2 mile from the predatory pipeline, in the danger zone. They got the certified letter. They don't know if it's going to come through their backyard or if they're going to be a 1/4 mile away or what. My heart was at such peace until now. Thank you all for what you are doing. I don't know how much I say it, sir. You don't know how much I sincerely appreciate you and all in the group. So that's the kind of people it's affected. I mean, everybody's got a different thing about it, but it's affecting all of us. We need to back off on this thing. Let our elected representatives, that's what they want to know. They want to know if this board, even though it's non-binding, they want to know how many people are standing against it, how many are for it. And that's the way they make their judgment, proceeding whether they're going to be against it. So I thank you for your time. I want you to think about it.
All right, thanks, Alden. Cassandra Eitenmiller? Cassandra, if you could just say your name and where you're from.
Cassandra Eitenmiller. I live in Tremont. We also own property along 5th Street in Cincinnati Township, just 3/4 mile down the road from Lincoln School. I attended last month's meeting, and I just had a couple of comments about your comments, Mr. Zimmerman. I just hope that this board takes the citizens of Tazewell County, hears us, and just doesn't lay down and think that there's really nothing we can do. I think having a voice and letting that voice be heard is something.
Thank you, Cassandra. Carl Lutz? Carl, if you could just say your name and where you're from? Yeah. You can say it there too.
My name is Carl Lutz. I'm a business owner here in Tazewell County. The pipeline's going to go right behind my business, within 1/4 mile. Tonight, when they give their presentation, I want everybody to listen, especially you guys. I want to listen to what they say. Are they telling you the truth, or are they just using the rhetoric? Are they saying things like, we're going to meet or exceed the present safety standards? And what kind of safety standards are they actually going to use? Because I wouldn't be opposed if I knew it was safe. What's going on? What diameter pipe are they running this through? What kind of pressures are they running? We know it's going to be, upwards of 1,600 psi to 2,100 psi. What's the diameter of the pipe? What happens if it ruptures? How much property is the cloud going to envelop? What happens to you when CO2 reaches 30,000 parts per million, 40,000 parts per million. That's only 4%, 3% of the atmosphere. If it reaches that, what happens? So you start to go unconscious. You know, these things are things that the county board and all the people need to think about. Now you guys, I noticed that you filed a petition to intervene, but what about just an out protest? You know, is that just the only thing you can do? What are there stronger measures you guys can take? Because I know all the people that are holding these signs, we're all in favor of stronger measures. I see that the unions have representatives here tonight because they're afraid that if the pipeline doesn't go through, they won't get jobs. We have to think about the long-term effects, all right? We don't care about 4 or 5 day jobs or 2-week jobs. I mean, I'm sorry if you guys don't get to work, but we got to think about what happens to the environment if the pipeline ruptures. Those are the things that we have to consider. That's about all I got to say, man.
Jim McMillan? Jim, if you could just state your name and where you're from.
I'm Jim McMillan, and actually we're visiting you from across the river. We hold the same values that you hold. The thing that I've always found is that whenever you do something, it's risk versus reward. What I've tried to look at is what is the reward and what is the benefit if this pipeline goes through versus what are the obstacles that it presents to the community. That's why I'm really against that. And I think that the people who will benefit are the certain few who don't live here. And so I think we're behind, and we're with you. I hope you're with us. I know you're with us to stop this thing from starting.
Thank you, Jim. Luke Dugan? Hogan? Luke, if you just state where you're from, your name.
Luke Oken, 6408 West Plank Road, Peoria. I'm a business rep for the Operating Engineers Local 649. I represent Tazewell County, along with the close to 250 members that live in Tazewell County, 1,400 members in the Central Illinois area from McLean to Hancock, Mason up to Henry and Bureau. We support this project. World Carbon Solutions has signed a letter of intent stating that they will do this project 100% union. We're highly trained, highly skilled in installing and maintaining pipelines safely. Again, 649 supports this project. Thank you.
You know what? Okay, you know what? You were shown respect last month. I asked that you show the same respect. You may disagree, but let's please keep it civil here. I just have one other citizen who requested to speak, Greg Webb. Greg, if you could state your name and where you're from.
Thank you. My name is Greg Webb, and I work for ADM, whose global headquarters is in Chicago and whose North American headquarters is in Decatur. Thank you for the time, Chairman Zimmerman and county board members, for us to be able to talk about this topic today. ADM has been in the carbon capture and sequestration business for more than a decade, where we take the fermentation stream of the corn that we buy, maybe from some of you, and we strip off the CO2, which is nearly pure in that fermentation stream, and then convert it from a gas to a supercritical liquid. And over the course of more than the last decade, we've captured 4 million metric tons in wells near our Decatur site, underneath where we live and work. We know that this is a safe technology. And now that now that there are opportunities to have both the experience of more than a decade of doing this, and also that we have a greater confidence about this technology working, we'd like to amplify that more. So we have asked and have been working with Wolf Carbon Solutions as a transport company. And there are three principal reasons why we chose Wolf. First of all, they already operate a CO2 pipeline in the province of Alberta. And they did that, so that's one of the attributes. So we know they've got the competence to operate a pipeline safely carrying CO2. Secondly, they acquired all of that route via voluntary easements, which is a very important attribute. ADM does a lot of business with the very landowners where this pipeline may course through. And so we're very interested that the relationships that Wolf have as they are securing voluntary easements are not injurious to our ability to buy crops from those very same landowners. Thirdly, Wolf is a life of asset owner, which is also an important attribute. They are going to develop, build, and operate this pipeline, and they're going to stay with that asset for its lifetime, which is also an important attribute. We at ADM hope that we're around a very long time, and we want Wolf Carbon Solutions to also have an ability to have relationships with communities and neighborhoods and counties throughout their track. Carbon capture and storage, as I mentioned earlier, is a safe technology, and I provided for some of the county board members some information about that. We have been working with the Illinois State Geologic Survey and with the Department of Energy for these last decade plus years. And we know that carbon capture and storage is a proven technology, and so we are interested and hopeful that we have an ability, because of the 60,000 square mile Illinois basin, which we're blessed to have underneath about the bottom 2/3 of Illinois, the western part of Indiana, and the western part of Kentucky, to help develop that opportunity, because it's a twofer in the way that we see it. We get a substantial environmental benefit by capturing CO2, and we also get a pretty substantial economic development benefit as a result of that. The state is aspirational to be carbon neutral by 2050, and we believe that this is one of the technologies that will help us deliver that aspirational goal. Thank you for your time.
All right, okay. You know, honestly, if you feel like disrupting a meeting helps your cause, I mean, it's just, please show the same respect that you were shown last month.
Nobody else is helping.
All right. Any communications from elected and appointed county officials? If not, we have our presentation from Wolf Carbon Solutions. If you could just come up and state your name and
Good evening, Chairman Zimmerman, members of the board. Thanks for allowing us to come here and speak tonight. My name is Patrick Riley. I'm the Vice President of Engineering and Operations for Wolf. Our headquarters are based out of Denver, Colorado. I reside in Denver, Colorado. Raised resident of, grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and have family roots that go here in Illinois and over into Nebraska, so very familiar with this part of the United States. I've been in the business of pipelines, also oil terminals, natural gas processing plants, my entire life. It's all I've done. I did it, graduated from Oklahoma State University in 1988, went to work for a midstream pipeline company, built oil lines, produced water lines, built natural gas liquids lines, operated CO2 pipelines in Central Texas, managed integrity management, regulatory compliance, inspection, permitting, pretty much anything technical that is associated with pipelines. And have been doing that now for almost over 35 years. So,
Hi. Thanks for asking us to come do this presentation. We appreciate the opportunity. My name is Tracy McDaniel. I'm the Director of Government Relations and Land. I am from Southern Illinois, born and raised, live in Salem, in Marion County. I've been in the right-of-way industry for approximately 15 years. I've acquired hundreds and hundreds of miles of right-of-way and easements across the Midwest. And again, I'll reiterate what Greg Webb said. I've never been involved with a condemnation suit, an eminent domain. I've successfully acquired all the right-of-way that I've acquired voluntarily. So again, just thank you so much for the opportunity to give some information about Wolf and about the project, and looking forward to answering any questions.
Okay, so we'll jump into the presentation. We'll go to the next slide. I've got this presentation up on my computer here, so I don't have to look at the screen. So I'll touch on a few things that Greg touched on, the Mount Simon Hub, the opportunity. And I'll talk about our team. We have a small team. We have a small project when compared to some of the other 1,000-mile plus projects that are out there that are in the CCS space. We put together a team of folks that have done this for decades in their careers. We want people that have been on construction projects, that have managed integrity programs, that have managed reliability, they've managed reporting to and compliance with the regulators to understand the business. Because CO2 is new, or CO2's been around on the pipeline side for 20, 30 plus years. So the pipeline, CO2s and pipelines are not new, but we wanted to put together a very strong team that had the experience. We leverage the technical capabilities of the folks up in Canada. Wolf Midstream operates ACTL, which is a 150-mile, 16-inch CO2 pipeline system. It's been in operation for 3 years now without a single incident. And they've actually just got approval from the province of Alberta to expand that system into the city of Edmonton, 2 million people. And will run through several suburbs of Edmonton that have in excess of 75,000 people. So they've gained confidence based on their design and their operations, and they're advisors to us as we execute this project down here in the U.S. So Greg had mentioned lowering the carbon intensity. Our project has a very efficient footprint. It touches Cedar Rapids, it touches north of Davenport, it touches Clinton, it goes through here obviously, and then in Decatur. And so there are a lot of opportunities there to reduce the carbon intensity of industrial emitters. And industrial emitters, not just an ethanol plant. We're focused on ethanol plants right now, but it could be a cement, fertilizer, it could be any number of facilities. And then there's the post-combustion carbon capture, which is from either natural gas or coal-fired power generation plants. Tremendous amounts of CO2 today are being emitted into the atmosphere, and these can be captured, transported, and then sequestered in the Decatur area. We talk about achieving the regional, national, global reduction goals. And then I'll talk about the size. Our pipeline will be able to move up to 12 million metric tons annually of CO2. That's equivalent to 2.5 million passenger automobiles. And we did the research. The state of Illinois has north of 10 million vehicles. They're not all passengers, passenger vehicles, but that removes a lot of CO2 emissions from a lot of vehicles in the state of Illinois. Talked about the jobs. I'll be personally in charge of the construction of this project. And Greg mentioned, one of the guest speakers mentioned the letters of intent. We have signed those letters of intent, and those are real, and it's a commitment to use labor, heavy equipment, transportation, pipe fitters, welders. It takes thousands of people to build this project, and that labor is important because when we start talking about safety and design, testing welders, testing the welds that are done, making sure the pipe is handled properly so it's not damaged during construction. All of that is very important. So the skilled labor is critical to any pipeline project, not just a CO2 pipeline project. And it attracts industries to Illinois. It's the last bullet on the slide. And that's an important one. I've already participated in 2 searches. There are companies, not ethanol plants, that are looking to locate their businesses to cities like Decatur or to cities like Cedar Rapids. And when companies today go to locate a new business, they're looking for rail, they're looking for water, they're looking for electricity, they're looking for the labor force, but they're also looking for emission controls. Part of their business search needs to be, if they produce a lot of CO2, they need to be able to get rid of that CO2. And that's a criteria now for a new business to locate. And we've participated in those. So we're glad to be able to offer that assistance to a city like Decatur or a city like Cedar Rapids. So that's it for this slide. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, routing and land use. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we site the pipeline and then the land acquisition effort once we've sited the pipeline. So we do, it's well known, PHMSA has the safety, the states have the siting. We've applied to the ICC. The ICC will have to approve every single parcel that we cross. 300 plus in Iowa, 600 plus in Illinois. The ICC will look at every single one of those. When we site a pipeline, we have to look at a lot of different factors. And all those factors work together. We have to look at environmental features, forested wetlands, bird habitat. We work with the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Illinois. We work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to make sure that we don't permanently convert any environmentally sensitive area to a non-environmental sensitive area. We have the agricultural fields. We have the tiles. We will bring in a separate company, not the pipeline, not the company that's building the pipeline. We'll bring in a separate company to evaluate the drainage tile system on every single piece of ag farmland, because no 2 tiles are the same. Some parcels are connected with a single tile system. Sometimes the trunk lines are connected. I'm not telling you guys, anything you don't already know. And some are old, some are mapped well. And so when we go through these, we're going to have to very carefully evaluate those. And then we have to identify geohazards. Geohazards are the big reason that incident in Mississippi happened. There was a slip. It's a landslide. I built a lot of pipelines in Ohio and West Virginia. And driving over here when I came down from the other side of 74 reminded me a lot of West Virginia. We've already done a geohazard analysis. We can tell you along every foot of the pipeline where the slope is between 2 and 10 degrees, and where there's floodplains, where there's seismic faults. There's a couple over in near Cedar Rapids, actually, and where the soil changes. All that data is really available, so that you know what type of soil that you're running through as you traverse the pipeline mileage. And then above all of that is people, the occupied structures. What is on that property? Is it a house? Is it a church? Is it a school? Is it a building? Is it a business? Is it a park? Is it a golf course? I mean, when you lay our project's 236 miles from Cedar Rapids to Decatur, and then we have the lateral going up into Clinton, that adds another 15 miles or so. You run into pretty much everything. And so when you site the pipeline, you not only have to consider the person who's selling you the easement, you have to consider their neighbors, because you don't want to disadvantage a neighbor while you're paying the other neighbor to put the pipeline on their property. And trust me, the ICC is going to look at every one of those situations, and we're going to have to explain how we tie all of that together when we site the pipeline. So it's a series of variables that all work together to make sure that we put it in the best location possible. there's been a lot of talk about the Muhammad Aquifer. The pipeline will cross the Muhammad Aquifer, but at a depth of only 6 or 7 feet. And the aquifer is hundreds of feet, a couple hundred feet below that. So it does not go through the aquifer, it goes above it. We will not drill any sequestration wells in the aquifer. We're acquiring pore space right now, but that's all south and outside of the aquifer. And we will not do that. And I can't vouch for everybody that's around the Muhammad Aquifer. All I can just vouch for is what we're doing. And we're not going to permit or drill a well, a Class 6 injection well, into the aquifer. That will not happen. So we'll microsite, and that's what we're doing right now. We're in a phase where we're buying right of way. We have construction managers that are working with the right of way team to microsite the pipeline on everybody's parcel. And it's about looking out for water wells, outbuildings, different things. What does the tile look like? What does that landowner use their property for? And it's a conversation, and it's a series of conversations. And it's a business conversation, and it's voluntary. And at the end of the day, if we do the wrong thing, the landowner doesn't have to sign the easement, and the ICC won't approve it. And then we have a compensation structure that we feel is very robust. 4 years crop damages paid. We ran an evaluation study after we selected the route, and evaluation study shows us how to make very competitive market offers for the property, and that's what we'll do. So design, and I won't get too down in the details on this, but this is what I do. Pipeline design is regulated by PHMSA. PHMSA regulates CO2 pipelines today. They regulate how you pressure test. They regulate how you inspect the pipeline. They regulate the materials of construction. They come out and audit you during construction to look at your welding records, to look at how you handle the pipe and how you put it into the ground. And so they started early. We started talking with PHMSA back in April of last year, and continue to work with them. We have a manager out of the Kansas City office that's already been assigned to us, and that person will stay with us throughout the entire project. Strict material selection and testing requirements. So PHMSA, right now, when you look at the new rules that the rule enhancements they're evaluating, one of them is around material selection and testing. I've attended workshops down in Houston that are being run by PHMSA. Engineers from all the big companies, Kinder Morgan, ExxonMobil, BP, they all come to these workshops, and we look at what design requirements do CO2 pipelines need that benefit that commodity and help that pipe handle CO2 better. And those will come out, and we're prepared. Our construction starts in 2025. We think these rules will come out in 2024. We already have advanced knowledge of what the new material requirements are going to be. It's going to be stronger pipe that is able to withstand the handling, like nicks and things like that. That the pipe will be stronger, and it will be able to talk about ductile fractures. It will be able to self-arrest a ductile fracture better than using older style more brittle pipe. That's what it means when you put in strong pipe. So those rules are coming down, and we're already working with them on that. First, we're doing class location studies. We're doing the geohazard analysis I already mentioned. That's very important. You need to have a geohazard program in place to make sure you maintain depth of cover. If there's a flooding event, that you've addressed that you know that there wasn't a soil movement that affected your pipe. So geohazard analysis, all of that is in progress right now. So I talk again about the enhancements to the pipeline regulations. The CO2 pipelines already have a good safety record. You can go out to the PHMSA website, you can pull the records down for the last 20 years. And of all the incidents that have occurred, the top 4 are by one operator in one area. All the other operators of CO2 pipelines in the rest of the United States, Kinder Morgan, some of the really bigger pipeline companies in the U.S. have operated CO2 pipelines safely for 20 years with very minor incidents. And I'm happy to show you where that information is located. So again, I mentioned our construction is in 2025. We expect the rules. We think the new rules, when they come out in 2024, are going to address materials of construction. Primarily going to address impurities. We're going to remove all the water. We're going to remove the oxygen. We want the CO2 to be as pure as possible when it goes through that pipeline. And that's not anything new. I mean, internal corrosion on pipelines, whether it's natural gas or oil, is big. Impurities are what causes it. And so we've been removing the water from natural gas. The natural gas that's flowing through the pipelines in your county today, it's dry because it has to be, or it'll suffer internal corrosion. So that's not a new process. With CO2, it will be emphasized, and we're already prepared to do that. Next slide. Okay. So the last slide we have here is on safety, and I kind of jumped ahead to that, and I mentioned the records because I've been in the position at several companies where I reported leaks, incidents, 5 barrels of oil here, 7 barrels of oil there, to PHMSA. They don't leave any stone unturned. And so when I look at the records and I look at what CO2 pipelines over the last 20 years, it's reporting that I'm familiar with because I've done it myself. And again, very, very safe operations. In addition to regulating design, PHMSA has responsibility for operations. And so they monitor, they don't just inspect you during construction and then kind of say, okay, well, you're good to go. It's an ongoing audit process. There are strict rules on frequency of inspections. Valves are inspected. You run an internal tool on the pipeline every 5 years to determine your corrosion rates. You look at, you do aerial surveys. All of that is very scripted and very managed. And so PHMSA, and they work with the states. It's not always PHMSA that's doing the inspections. In a lot of states, the Iowa Utilities Board or the ICC would partner with PHMSA to manage those inspections and to manage the review of an incident should one occur. You'll see that in a lot of states, and that's a cooperation between the states and the feds, and we embrace that. It works amazingly well, and it allows them to share resources. It allows the federal agencies to focus in certain areas and then let the states focus in certain areas where the states have more resources to do that. And you'll find that a lot of the states that are heavy with pipeline and oil and gas activity, Louisiana, Texas, Colorado, the states take over that role. Emergency planning zone, that's a concept we embrace. We don't embrace or support fixed distance setbacks. Go back to that first slide when I talked about how everything has to work together. If I fix one of those variables, it then weakens the other variables. And if you force a pipe to be X distance from this, you might be pushing it into an environmentally sensitive area or a geohazard or an ag area. You lose those degrees of freedom when you do that. So we are, and what we've deployed up in Canada is an emergency planning zone. An emergency planning zone is an area that is conservative, where you work together, you collaborate. And I encourage everyone to go out and research what's called PIPA, and it's a land use effort that PHMSA championed about 10 years ago for urban areas, where it works both ways. It allows communities to develop around a pipeline that's already there. It allows the pipeline to coexist with a community that's already there. And the two work together. And they put together a work study group that included city leaders, housing developers, landowners, and pipeline developers to work together to put together a program where everyone learns to coexist. And so I encourage everyone to go out and look at PIPA. And again, we talked about emergency response planning. I've got a copy of it in my briefcase. It's our safety Bible for ACTL in Canada. And it was approved to allow them to expand into the city of Edmonton. And it uses an emergency planning zone, talks about incident command structure, talks about how to do a blockade, how to direct traffic, how to identify the size of your incident. So it's this document right here. And we roll this out. We've got a director of project execution, Todd Peterson. You'll probably see him around here from time to time. He's meeting with all the local fire chiefs, emergency management administrators, and he's showing them that this is what we have in practice in Alberta on our system. And today we're converting that to the Mount Simon Hub, where we've got a company that's taking that and translating it to this project. And we'll have a draft of that done here about 3 months. And that's a living document. It will continue to evolve, and we're going to solicit input from all the emergency management administrators as 2024 goes, and as we start to build the project. We want to map that to sync with every local emergency management process and document that you have. That kind of ends our presentation.
All right. Well, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. Tracy and Greg, thank you for coming also. So, all right. Moving on to approval of the minutes from our August 30th county board meeting. Can I get a motion? Motion by Schneider, second by Mark Goddard. Any questions, deletions, corrections? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion. Minutes pass. Can I get, we actually have one in-place executive committee meeting tonight. So,
Hey, John, can I talk to you, Matt?
Sandy, can you call the roll, please? Actually, sir, we're in the middle of a county board meeting. Okay. Here.
Here.
All right, we have a forum. We're going to do business. We're going to switch the two things around. We want to talk about approving a consulting agreement with the Lyman Group. And before we get a motion in a second, we want to just discuss it a little bit, what we're thinking about here, Mike.
Yes, this is the item we talked briefly about in the executive committee last week. So these two items are very much related. We believe that we could get better third-party administrator fees if we were to go out for bid and seek proposals. It would need to be on a very quick timeline, since we're end of September right now and our plan year starts on December 1st. So we would want to issue the RFP right away, then go through those and bring a proposal in October so that it could get approved. We would then be able to have open enrollment and work with the new vendor to be able to get everything started as of December 1st. And so it's a bit of an aggressive timeline, and also it's a major decision. And that's where we thought it would help to be able to have a professional come in and help us with a few of the upcoming decisions that need to be made. And so one of them is the Wyman Group is a consultant in the healthcare industry, and that's their specialty. So they would be able to very quickly help us get the RFP issued, and when we get it back, then they'll help us be able to review them. They also have some knowledgeable experience within the industry of the different TPAs, and bringing that report information to the committee to be able to approve it. A couple other items that we have immediate needs for are the pricing of the new health plans that are included in this month's packet for the board. We have the new mid-tier and high deductible plans, and we'll need to come up with new pricing structures for those since we don't have an existing base model. So we'd be able to help us with it. We also be transitioning to the new TPA, so being able to have that expertise to make sure we're getting all of the I's dotted, T's crossed, so that it's a smooth transition for our employees, making sure that the health cards get out in time. And then there's numerous other items that would help with us. So it seems like a little while since our plan has gotten a review and the overall different components of it. So he would have some recommendations on how we could best work with Carle Health with our plan, make recommendations to us that then we could bring forward to the committee. So with that, we talked with Wyman Group, and he was able to have a proposal to us just under 30,000. So the state law requires 30,000 for any bidding projects, and he's right at that minimum, or the maximum. So typically, my understanding with the organization, the recommendation is we go out to bid when we start getting close to that threshold like this is. The reason we haven't done that is the timeline. So if we want to be able to implement this, the new TPAs, we would have to act on a very fast timeline. He does estimate that we could have $50,000 to $80,000 in savings if we were to use a TPA or to go out for bid and solicit quotes for new TPAs. So there would be that cost savings above and beyond the cost that we would be having.
So I'm always uncomfortable when we're kind of rushed on decisions like this. Part of it is that we're at the end of the plan year, and if we're going to terminate our contract with IPMG, we have to do it 60 days in advance. So we're kind of in a conundrum here. Can I get for E23-135, can I get a motion to get it on the floor, just so we can discuss? Motion by Hall, second by Prail. Okay, Jay, you have a question?
This is the first time I've seen you mention the Wyman Group.
Yes. Sure.
Sorry, I said I've had experience with the Wyman Group in the past, and I can't support it. Sorry.
Mike?
So you're gonna ask us to terminate IPMG in 60 days, the contract will be out. And in those 60 days, the Wyman Group's gonna find us another administrative services group.
Yes, we would go out for bid for it, issue the bids like we typically do for RFPs. We do the evaluation, they would assist with it, and bring that recommendation to the October board. So I agree.
It's possible for 60 days, you do it 60 days?
Yes, yeah, he feels confident that we can get out the RFP very quickly and then bring it to the October board. So that would be the major component. And the current provider, IPMG, would be able to bid, it's an open bidding model, so they would still be able to be a consideration if they put in for it.
Tammy?
I was going to ask, sorry, Jay, before you, did they come recommended? Like, I just was wanting to know where we came up with them.
We did, yes. There's another vendor that introduced us to them, and so Angela had worked on getting some information about them and felt comfortable.
Bill?
Okay, I have a couple of questions with regards to this. Number one, how hard did you have to work to get them to give up that 99 cents that they could have additionally charged? I mean, it's right at the boundary line for it being a requirement that we bid it out, and I'm really uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, that's the services typically cost more than that. He would typically charge more, but to be able to help us in a quick fashion, he was willing to do it at what would be a reduced price from what he typically charges.
I feel a little more comfortable with it, hearing that explanation that this is actually a reduced price from what they would ordinarily charge. I also, though, I'm bothered by Section 2 services. I've read it 4 times, and I'm not sure what it is that they're doing. They've got these, what look like just code words that there should be a definition somewhere in here, but there's not. Are they basically, they're going to help us to bid it out and that's it? Or is there something more?
There's quite a bit more to that. So one of the items that they list toward the top is helping with the RFP process, helping us bid it out, reviewing it, and going forward. They also work hand in hand with the third-party administrator. So right now, Angela has to spend a good amount of her time dealing with issues that come up with, say, an explanation of benefit that an employee has received. So it keeps growing on how much time she's spending on that, and he would be an intermediary where we can talk with him and he would work with the TPA. So he would be our consultant and helping us when we have issues. He would also have just industry knowledge. So there's recommendations that he would have that we look at. Some of the items we looked at now is the dental plan, going from right now we're a fully insured model to we've been now looking at our self-insured model and going to a fully insured model. He also has broader access to stop loss providers. So you think of the property insurance, it's not exactly the same, but we use an agent to be able to go to the different carriers and get quotes. So he can do the same thing for stop loss insurance for a health plan, which is right now our plan covers any costs for individual up to $125,000. Then we have stop loss that covers the excess. So we limit our liability. And he has a broader access to different providers that also could reduce costs in that category. There's quite a bit. It would be this initial helping us onboard, but it would be an ongoing relationship throughout the year, and ongoing making recommendations for us.
If I can ask just one final question, and this is kind of a follow-up from what you just said. It sounds like to me then from what you said that they will have duties throughout the entire year, but this is really, if I'm understanding it correctly, this is more geared towards bidding with some follow-up. So is it fair to say that maybe 50% of the work is actually in helping with the bidding, or is it actually spread out evenly over the entire year?
I would say that with onboarding a new TPA, the first couple of months are certainly going to be the most critical and the most time demanding. So getting out the RFP, evaluating it. Also, the item I mentioned, pricing our new health insurance plan. So those are all decisions that we need to make in the next couple of months. And so I would say it certainly is front-ended for some of the most important items. Once we get through those, then we'd be able to look at broader areas of the plans and see what recommendations he has based on his industry knowledge. And those are things that we could take to committee and board for the next plan year for consideration. So those wouldn't be the time pressure and commitment that we would have for this initial process.
Roy? Yes, well, at one time, Mike, you were really pushing IPMG, and I was not too happy about that. So now we've taken a turn. I want to know how, in fact, you came across Lyman. Did they approach you, or did you seek their advice? How did that relationship come into play?
we were recommended that we speak with them and to try to use them. So it was a recommendation.
Who was that recommendation?
Angela had contact with them through, I believe, another vendor and had done some more research into them.
Okay, and Tim Newhouser, who has a very good background in making some of these suggestions, and has actually offered to help the county in any way, even though it may have been out of the scope of what his policy was offering. Why wouldn't you seek our current insurance provider, and did you even consider that?
My understanding is they are more in the property category, which health insurance is a completely separate product, a completely separate regulations. So there's the property and casualty that they oversee. This is the health insurance.
But still, he's a resource and he has expertise across the board with insurance. I'm concerned about this relationship with Wyman. I think it's like every other relationship. It seems like we'll be there with you every step of the way, and it's really not playing out like they say. And so I would advise that should also be contacted just to get the bigger bang for our buck and another set of eyes. We already have a current board member here. I was not pleased with Wyman. I'm sensitive to that, and I think Newhouse should be called. He was a previous member of this board. He served this board well, and his expertise goes beyond the limitation that you're putting on him. I would suggest you give him a call. If not, I'll make
Any
it a
other
call.
questions? Russ?
Quick, easy one for you, Dave, and then several for you, Mike. It might not be as easy. Dave, does this, you and I have worked for a long time with UCCI and ICRMT. Does this reduce the services in terms of insurance that Tazewell County receives from ICRMT at all in any way?
So we're no longer part of ICRMT,
Right.
and this is another service that IPMG offers.
I see.
That we've been utilizing as our TPA.
Okay, so, well, I want to associate myself with several remarks that I've heard. First, Bill's concern and reluctance, that's maybe my word, not his. I maybe have more reluctance than he does. I think that the money is curiously close. I'm always, as an old auditor, that always increases my suspicions. I totally agree with the comments made about Tim Newhouser. I wouldn't do anything without bouncing these things off Tim. I agree 100% with Dave Zimmerman when he talked about he hates to be under the crunch. He hates the 60 days and it's like you're dancing while people are shooting guns at your feet. So my question is, why the hell are we here? We knew that. Why didn't we, well before the 60 days, get this stuff in the pipeline, have a proper vetting, proper feedback from Tim and others? You got a board member up here who's on the committee who has concerns about Wyman, who never has heard about this before. Something smells Denmark to Russ Crawford. So I'm going to be voting no. I'm not on your executive committee, but when it comes to the board, I'll be voting no. And I'm not really sure why. I don't like the process that's been used. Thanks.
So you're right, anytime we're under a rush, the 60-day rush is something that IPMG put into place last year, used to be 30 days. So we're up against that.
Yeah.
Just in defense of the county board office,
Okay.
this is one of about 5,289 priorities that we're working on simultaneously. And some things just,
I understand.
get pushed up against the.
And we're in budget bubble too, so I understand all that.
Tammy?
I'm not defending either side of, I don't know who the Wyman group is, But, and I don't disagree to reach out to Tim, but on the same side, when you're talking about that the monies are fishy, if you recall, Tim's fee is slightly below our previous carrier's fee. So if we really want to start looking for fish.
And you know, yeah, and you know what, I don't want to question the integrity of anybody, it's just, you play within the rules and that's how it works sometimes. Mike?
Another item I didn't mention was also the cost increase that IPMG has just recently proposed. So they had a very significant cost increase last year. It had been several years since they had a cost increase, but it was over 20% last year for the contract we have now. And again, they want, I believe it was in the 23 to 26% increase again this year. And so that is a very major cost, I believe 70 to 80,000 for our health insurance plan. And so that is also a major reason. So part of it is it's the buildup and frustration. They went to a new electronic processing system, which was frustrating earlier this year for us and for the employees. And so there's just been kind of a compounding between that underlying frustration and now the added costs that they've proposed that would be in the next contract.
Bill?
I just wanted to point out with my prior comment, I certainly was suspicious of this. I'm satisfied with the explanation that Mike has given us. I'm prepared to vote in favor of this, even though, as can probably be told by my questions, I really had problems with it to begin with. It should have been planned out better, and maybe that would have prevented at least my criticism of it. But I just wanted to make it clear that my comments earlier, I at least have been satisfied that that's taken care of. If I were the attorney representing this board, maybe I would still be questioning the bidding aspect of it. But I'm a member of this board and I'm satisfied by the explanation.
All right.
It's a 1-year agreement. If it's something we can report back to the board if you were to approve it and let you know the progress. And if we feel that it's beneficial, if it's something the committee feels that we should continue to do, it's certainly something that we could bid out for next year if we were to continue a relationship.
Right.
I just have some concerns. We're voting to spend 30,000 to possibly save 60 or 70, but that's no guarantee. I wonder if and that's not insignificant, I'm not saying that, but I don't know, I just wonder if it might not be better to bite the bullet and review it when we have time, and I do agree about, Tim's, maybe he's not in this, maybe he's not an expert in this part of it, but he might have some good input, so.
Angela, you want to offer some clarification?
You might want to also mention that we met with Carl representatives, and Tim was brought up during that meeting, and he was regarded as a useful source for other proceedings that they have with other companies, and they have recommendations about our current TPA as well. So it was a recommendation at that point that we consult with Tim about what potential services he could provide to us.
In case you didn't hear Angela, she was saying we had met with Carl Health and they also had reservations with IPMG and some of the issues they've had and also recommended that we work with the Wyman Group.
Yeah, over 289 other issues that were overwhelming the administrative government. What can we do? Do we need to, are we overwhelmed up there that we just somehow overlook this? Is it, do you not have enough help in your office? So that's a topic for another day. Okay? So any questions regarding this Wyman Group. Yes, Mike.
Just to clarify, because I think it was an issue that's kind of been discussed a little bit, Mike touched on it a little bit when he indicated that traditionally with any kind of contracts that are close to that 30,000 mark, the recommendation is that it does go out to bid even if it doesn't reach that 30,000 mark. And Mr. Atkins had touched on that a little bit. As the person who does provide legal advice to the board at this point, I do want to just clarify that Mike and I have had this conversation, and for the board's information, 30,000 is the threshold for requiring the contract to be bid. Something below 30,000, by strict interpretation of the statute, of course, is permitted and wouldn't be subject to competitive bidding requirements. But like Mike mentioned, traditionally the advice of the state's attorney's office has been that if there's a contract that is large enough that's approaching that $30,000 threshold, that our best advice is that it is competitively bid, both to comply with the spirit of the statute, in the sense that the legislature intended some of these larger contracts to be subjected to competitive bidding, to give various contractors an opportunity, and for the county to get as low a price or as low a bid as possible from a responsible bidder, and also just to, I guess, address and prevent any sort of appearance of any sort of effort to circumvent or to specifically try to avoid the requirements of the statute. We always want to encourage the board to, I guess, consider that appearance of making any sort of attempt to avoid the statutory requirement. So I understand that there's a variety of considerations that the board has with timelines and other issues, but we always want to be, I guess, clear about that those considerations they need to be in place when the board's addressing this too. That our advice is in those situations where it is so close that it be subject to competitive bidding.
All right, any other questions? Russ?
I'll make it quick, Chairman. Thanks for your indulgence. So, Mr. Holly, you talked a lot of words. I want a real short answer to a short question. Are you suggesting that on this item 16 that the board bid that out rather than just blanket approve it? Is that what you're saying, or are you saying something different?
Yes, for that amount, I mean, $29,999 doesn't get any closer to 30,000 than, I mean, there's a little wiggle room there, but not a whole lot, obviously. So yeah, as close as that is, yeah, that would always be our recommendation.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to do a roll call. Sandy? A yes is to hire the Wyman Group, and no is not to. So, call the roll, Sandy.
Chairman Zimmerman? Vice Chair Harris?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Kraft? Hall?
No.
Josie?
Yes.
Longfellow?
Yes.
Middle?
Yes.
Dingus?
No.
Trail?
Yes.
Rich Simpson? Yes. Schneider?
No.
Okay, motion passes. Then can I get a motion for E23-134 to recommend termination of IPMG? Motion by Atkins, second by Rich Simpson. This is in order to meet the 60-day deadline for doing that. Are there any questions about that? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We are back to the consent agenda. Item 10 will be pulled, and then 15 and 16 will be pulled. It just came out of committee. Any other items? Motion for the remainder by Crawford.
Yes.
And second by Hall. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, can I get a motion for the appointments 17 through 20? Motion by Mingus, second by Nellens.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Back to our agenda. Can I get a motion for E23-136 to get this on the floor? Motion by Trail. Second. Second by Longfellow. We do need an amendment just to strike one line in the contract or in the change order. Nancy?
And the motion would be to amend and delete Pinecrest Drive pavement patching phase 1 in that resolution.
So if you look at change order 4, it's just to strike the name that was included, right, Jim?
And substitution with
Okay, yes. Can I get a second to that amendment? Second by Bill. Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Back to the original motion as amended. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Can I get a motion for E23-134, the termination of IPMG just came out of committee? Motion by Rich Simpson, second by Nelms. Any more questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. And then finally, E23-135, can I get a motion? Motion by Atkins, second by Josting.
Roll call.
Roll call.
On your 16?
On 16, yes.
Thank you.
Atkins,
Yes.
Crawford,
No.
Depper,
No.
Mark Goddard,
No.
Samuel Goddard,
No.
Graff, Hagman,
No.
Hall,
No.
Harris,
Yes.
Josting,
Yes.
Crable,
Yes.
Longfellow,
Yes.
Mennel,
Yes.
Mingus,
No.
Nelms,
No.
Pageant,
No.
Trail,
Yes.
Rich Simpson,
Yes.
Schneider,
No.
Sin,
Yes.
Smith.
No.
Okay, so I probably should have flipped those because now we don't have a TPA provider and we don't have the consultant. Yes, Rob.
But we don't need to let any time grow under our feet to go ahead and put bids out to get a company to do that. I agree that this is not as fast as just picking one, but I think it's a lot safer is what I hear the state's attorney's office saying.
So what do you propose we do during the 60-day period?
I don't know why we have to wait in order to go out for bids.
Who has to write the bids? Who do we use to pull the bids together?
Oh, your point was Wyman was gonna put the bids package together.
Right.
Well, my question to Mr. Michael Drury is, don't we have, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd look at the bid specs we've used before. I'd get a hold of somebody you haven't gotten a hold of, Tim Newhouser, and I'd ask him what to do. And I'll bet you he's got a suggestion.
You know, I know a lot of people have mentioned Tim tonight, and Tim's one of my very good friends. But Tim is a vendor for Tazewell County. He's no longer a county board member.
Right.
And I know he'll do the right thing, but it is a conflict of interest now for Tim to advise us on insurance when he sells insurance and is no longer a part of it.
Well, just a comment. For 4 years, I was in charge of bids and specs and contracts for Tazewell County. And Dave, you're exactly right. And it's always a pickle for whoever's administering the whole bid and spec process. And Mike knows this, because sometimes when you have a very detailed project that you're going to go out, you need very detailed specs, or you have all kinds of other problems. And so in order to get those detailed specs, you need somebody who has the expertise in order to write them. Usually that's somebody that's in the business, and the potential conflict is always there. So you've got to manage through that.
Yeah,
What happened to Cool?
cool it bid last time. Go ahead, Mike.
They would again be more the property and casualty, from what I understand, not aware that they go into the health insurance. So that would be my primary issue is we do have to be on a very, very aggressive timeline. The consultant was able to give us the specs likely by Monday. You know, if we got an approval, I don't know that we, insurance points today are ready. So for us to get specs together, that does take a good amount of time to make sure we find someone from hopefully another county and then adopt it or change it to fit our needs. And then there's the evaluation on the backside that he was going to help us with the evaluation. So that there's both the front end and the back end work that would make it very, very challenging to get done by October. And I can just briefly address member Paget's comments. And so typically the national standards for an organization our size is to have 1.1 member employees per 100 for the organization. We currently have 2 in our HR department, so that would put us at 4.4 employees if we were to meet the national average. And that also doesn't take into consideration some other factors that we have collective bargaining agreements. So when you have collective bargaining, that also adds to the demands. So there is, you don't overly want to make excuses, but that is the reason we were in such a quick timeline. It would be doable with linemen. It would be a lot more challenging without. Now there is the possibility of doing this more mid-plan term. It's certainly not ideal, and it requires both an existing TPA and a new TPA to work hand in hand together, and so that's why we would more wanted to go this more faster route.
So we could take a motion to reconsider on one or the other.
And I'm gonna try one more thing, and if not, I will make the motion to reconsider, Dave.
Okay.
I obviously don't wanna put us in a no exit pickle. And I know Mike might not like this, but it's better than not. Here's what my slice the baby down the middle idea might be. Wouldn't it be, Holly, it's not as good if we don't go out for bid, but what if we get 3 quotes? And Wyman's one of those quotes that Mike could just solicit. Isn't that better than what we were gonna do, but not as good as what you suggested? Thanks.
I always applaud creativity. Unfortunately, it wouldn't change the statutory requirements. Even if you went out and got 3 bids and they were all close to 30,000 or over 30,000, it would still be the recommendation to bid.
Well, I wouldn't object to the board office if you're able to do that, because of the unique circumstance and constraint that we're in right now.
Okay.
I just checked and told yes on those health insurance. They a multitude, they bid it out.
And with the new purchasing rules, under 30,000 would be within my purview if we got the 3 quotes, but with the IKMG contract, that's where I thought it was really good to bring this together and let the board have the decision. So it is something that we could try to obtain quotes fairly quickly. We would then, just giving them a couple of days turnaround, and still, I don't know that we'd be able to get things in time for the October board meeting. We'd have to at least probably bypass executive committee and go straight to in place at a minimum.
I'd also add that I don't want us to have to go meet again in order to authorize the chairman and the administrator to proceed. So you could move based on what you find out.
Mark?
So since this really wasn't, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it was done right. There's some questions about just this, snap decision. The 60 days, if we some motions to reverse that E23-134 and keep IPMG. What's the actual result of that? And then doing it right the next time, giving them 60 days at the end of next year, possibly. I'm just saying, the big thing is the money. You're saying it could save us 80,000 to spend 30,000.
The money and the customer service, so both from the employer standpoint, working with IPMG, and then the employee, certainly trying to have better customer service on both fronts, and financially too. So this potentially would be a win-win if we find a new TPA that both has a lower fee and would be able to provide better customer service. And so I mentioned that with the third-party administrator, we could save funds. It would also from the stop-loss perspective, with them having more stop-loss providers that they could get quotes from. There's certainly, we pay roughly $600,000 to $700,000 for stop-loss insurance too. So if they're able to give us savings on that front, it would be just adding to it. But so we would use the same vendor for a year, as we do need to bring a new contract likely to you, because the contract we have now just has the prior fees, so we would have to bring a new contract next month for IPMG that would likely have the higher cost.
Yes, Russ?
No, I didn't seek recognition. I'm good with you getting us out of this pickle.
Okay. So should we make a motion to reconsider Wyman or keep IPMG for another year?
If you're just looking for bids, that's great, but my issue was customer service. Just so you know.
Okay.
I just have one more question on IPMG. I get confused in all the acronyms, and I know we had ICRMT. So when we moved to TIM, did IPMG have any part of the other, or they've always just been on the health side?
IPMG is the umbrella company. They had ICRMT, which was our property.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So do you think we have had a lack of customer service or fees due to loss of business by some other decisions that we've made? I'm just asking your opinion.
That I have gotten from Angela, I think, I don't know, Angela would be able to address that a little better than me, but hadn't gotten that sense, but it's just the change in the software that they've had, and a few issues even the insurance review had previously. Is there anything, Angela, that you would want to highlight on that?
I mean, we do see, we are potentially going to see a 20 to 25% increase in charges for this year. They're telling us this is the industry standard, but we don't know the reasoning behind it either. So it could potentially be part of that, but we will never know.
Roy?
Yes, and as Angela is certainly aware, she has worked with other co-ops, but the stop loss issue, since we essentially self-insure on that, it's unlikely, Mike, that you would find some relief on that from another vendor. So if you're holding out just on stop loss, I wouldn't hold my breath. So
We were actually already getting quotes for another stop loss and increasing this fee.
how much was it?
It was around $100,000.
Who was that through?
Right.
So there's 30, so we got that, and we did that on our own, either through the co-op or through resources that Angela has. So I think we have talent. I'm just saying,
It was actually through the line.
well, and they should have held their cards close to their chest. So now we have the information.
We aren't able to use the stop loss provider that they recommended. IPMG, from my understanding, doesn't currently have a relationship with them, so we wouldn't be able to use them as a stop loss provider unless we could convince IPMG to fold them into their portfolio.
Bill?
Because I voted on the prevailing side only on one of these, I can only move to reconsider with regards to E23-134. I'd like to move to reconsider E23-135, but I don't think I have standing to make that particular motion. So I am moving to reconsider E23-134. That is the one for the cancellation of the contract with IPMG, because I believe that these two needed to either both be passed or neither, and the only way that I have to potentially cure it is that particular motion.
Okay, before I get a second, Russ, you want to make that?
I just want to make a quick comment, and then, Mr. Chairman, you have a decision to make. And you don't want to listen to either one of these parliamentarians. You have an alternative to what Bill just suggested, that's one. Another one is, I did vote either the right or the wrong way, however you want to say it, on 35, and I would make a motion to reconsider, because I think that's better than if we reconsider 34.
And I would yield my motion. If he's going to make that motion, I would yield my motion so that his will take precedence. So there's a motion to reconsider on E23-135. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mennel. So do we, parliamentarian, take a vote to bring it back on the floor, or is?
It would be a vote to reconsider it first.
Okay.
That's to bring it up for a vote. So first we're voting on whether or not we're going to vote on it again.
Okay.
If that is successful, we then vote on it as if we had never addressed it.
Okay. So to reconsider.
Can I second it?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yep.
Okay.
So there's been a motion to reconsider E23-135. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Can you hold your hand up? Okay, so noted. Okay, so it's back on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'll point of order out. I would like to also to put on the names.
Okay. Okay, so it's back on the floor. And this is to approve the agreement with the Wyman Group. Just previously went down. Any more discussion on this? Dave?
I personally believe we play by the book, because if we don't play by the book, and something goes wrong, then we're gonna eat our words.
We could be in big trouble as far as I'm concerned. So I believe we play by the book.
Okay.
I know nothing about Wyman. I don't know if we're going to save $80,000. I don't know if $30,000 is a fair, equitable price. Without at least some knowledge of that, I just believe that we're heading in the wrong direction. That's my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to do another roll call vote. And a yes would be to retain Wyman, and a no would be to say no. So, John?
Crawford. Aye. Deppert.
Aye.
Mark Goddard. Sam Goddard.
No.
Graf. Agman. Hall.
No.
Harris.
Yes.
Justin.
Yes.
Crable.
Yes.
Longfellow.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Mingus. Nelms.
No.
Paget.
No.
Trail.
Yes.
Rich Simpson.
Yes.
Schneider.
No.
Sin.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Atkins.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, any unfinished business before the board? Any new business? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So that we do have the next budget book available, so the PDF was emailed, and we also have the paper copy. So big thank you to Mindy and Cole for a lot of time on getting that all ready for our meeting on Monday. There are two other items included in the folders. One is the rules changes that came out of the executive committee. handled it, but also gave you copies in writing in your packet. So that would, based on the 30-day waiting period, that would be on next month's county board. And there's also a letter from Nicole Jones, the supervisor of assessments, regarding the property tax assessments that rather than do a presentation, we thought doing a letter would be better to help explain that process.
Any other unfinished business?
Just a question.
Yes.
A question for you, Michael. I've looked at that letter. The county board doesn't need to weigh in on any part of that letter, right?
There's not, and some of the operations are a bit statutory, so the supervisor assessments has to get the county as a whole within a set percentage under state law. And so I guess the short of it is township assessors assess the properties individually, and then the state gathers data on percentages. And so they were all, quite a few were significantly down from where the state averages are for, and so that's where the supervisor assessments adds a multiplier factor by township to then comply with the state requirements. And so that was, with the sales that we've had over the last couple of years, I've kind of all seen how prices have gone. That's caused the market value for prices to go up significantly, and so the factors needed to be in the 8 to 10% range for the various townships based on the market value on how it's been. And so there is a 3-year average that's used in that process. So we're now kind of in the high end of where houses have been sold. So that was the increase in the factor.
So I had originally asked Nicole to give a presentation to the board because of, I didn't know if you guys are getting a lot of flack from people. And because I knew we were going to have a big crowd tonight, I asked her to put it in a letter form. If you do have more questions, reach out to Nicole, or Vivian is our own onboard expert, so she can give you some more of the nitty-gritty details. So, any other issues? Yeah, Bill.
I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, Rules Committee is not meeting this month. After you've reviewed the proposed rules, which will be up for decision next month, if you want to talk to me or Russ or Sierra, Nancy, Mike, any of us on the Rules Committee regarding those, you can't just show up to the meeting because we're not having one for the next month. You'll have to contact us individually. Russ and I would both be glad to talk with you ad nauseum regarding the rules. And I think that Nancy, Mike, and Sierra are done talking about it.
I'll second that. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, great. Can I get a motion to, we don't approve the bills anymore. Can I get a motion to approve the calendar? Motion by Rich Simpson, second by Deppert. Any changes? We're going to recess until Monday, November 2nd, and then the next full board meeting is October 25th. Tentative is on October 2nd, yes. One other thing, one of our county organizations is putting together a wind and solar facility task force. If anybody's interested in serving, I don't know what they're going to do, but just let me know. Yes, Ross.
The only thing I wanted to say before we leave is tonight's meeting was, I'm talking about on CO2, was very challenging to chair, and should have been obvious to every board member. And you know, it doesn't matter how you feel about the issue. Everybody needs the ability to be treated with respect and professionalism. I thought you did a really good job, and that could have gone south, and it didn't. So thank you.
Well, I hope we all learned something, and you know, we still have a lot more to learn. I know a county or two has brought in a geologist from the U of I to talk about this and different things, but again, our authority is very, very limited. So, any other business? If not, we are adjourned at 8:39, 7:39.